Okay, there we go. Now, anyway, good evening to all. My name is Bruce Craig, and welcome on behalf of the City of Township. I've got a few remarks before introducing the moderator to getting on with the program, but I want to begin with something that's become an important tradition in many public gatherings. And simply, we would like to begin by acknowledging that the land in which we gather is the traditional territory of First Nations. The Huron-Wendat, the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, the Métis, and the Mississaugas of the New Credit First Nations. We offer our gratitude and deep respect to the First Nations for the care of the land and the water, and for teachings and examples of being good stewards of the earth. I'd also like to extend a warm welcome to our candidates. You can see wow, we've got quite a group here, 8 altogether. The moderator will be introducing them personally at the time. I also wanted to just acknowledge school trustees. If you look to the back right now, just quickly, you'll see there are 4 people who are here. And welcome, sorry, Elizabeth Crow is here. One thing I love about this, about the Pottageville Hall, is things are just really grassroots here. It's good. That's part of King. But anyway, at the close of the meeting, you will be welcome to speak with all of the trustees who are here. We have trustees from, I believe, at least 3 of the boards running. And anyway, they have a number of literature on your seats also. Also want to just recognize the teams that have helped put this night together. I want to acknowledge Greg Locke. Thank you, Greg. And Judith Tenenbaum. Joe Watt, who is at the table at the back. I realize timing. We have Kathy Wellesley. I think a little help from the end crowd, possibly, but if needed. Okay. We've also got Fred Jessup and Super. On your seats, you'll found a couple of items. I just wanted to quick explanation. You'll see an envelope that's there, and this is for voluntary donations. To put an evening like tonight on, we're finding it costs more and more. It just when it comes to permit rental for a hall, we have to put insurance on it, the sound equipment, advertising. It's about $700 to put an evening like this on. So we really appreciate just your consideration on that. This basket is back, and you're welcome to close the meeting to put an envelope in there with your donations. Also, I wanted to bring this to your attention. There are 2 prepared questions that concern citizens sent to the candidates about a week ahead of time, 6 to 7 days ahead, and they've had time to prepare answers. We just thought it would be good to see the wording on those questions so that, because they are fairly lengthy, the moderator will be introducing those. At the bottom of the sheet, you'll notice something called the CCKT candidate questionnaire. This was the first for us as an organization to actually send questions out to the candidates before time, and with the goal that we could make them public. And we had a great response. 11 of the 14 candidates running the King sent in responses, many of them very thoughtful. If you go into the website at cckT.ca, you can look at the responses. They're organized by award, and you can see how the candidates in the award responded to each question. Okay, and with that said, I believe I'm going to make sure I've covered all I need. So I'd like to introduce the moderator for tonight. His name is Tom Butt. Some of you may recognize Tom. He's been a resident in King for, Tom, how many years is it now?
Just under 20 years.
Just under 20 years. Lives in a rural area in Ward 6. Beautiful area, actually. And Tom has a background in public health. I'll let him fill you in a little bit more about that. And Tom, anyway, is here with his wife, and we really welcome you, Tom. And
Thank you. I commented earlier that it's going to be a great night when there's more people than there are chairs. We arrived in King just at the turn of the century. Came to K2000 didn't affect us. And spent a fair bit of time rehabilitating a property and really come to just get lost in both our home and the land that we nurture. And that's maybe one of the reasons I'm here tonight, is to help us focus on the needs of the wards 2, 3, 4, and 6. As most of you may know, this is the second gathering in King for those candidates that are running in the municipality elections 11 days from now. Last night you heard from candidates in Ward 1 and in Ward 5, which collectively represent King City, but on my drive over, obviously they reach further north than I recognize with the dedication of the signboards. So, but the discussion last night centered largely on population growth and related activities that affect I'll call it the southern portion of the township. I hope that we can understand that, as well as understanding the rural nature of the wards that are here tonight. As you know, each councillor has an equal vote on all issues presented to council. And tonight we're going to hear from the candidates say that the rural portions of King Township. And I trust that we'll hear how wards 2, 3, 4, and 6 are going to represent the needs of their residents at council meetings, in addition to participating in the debates that we heard last night, driven by the substantial growth that is estimated for King City and the other areas. So I'd like to get started by you helping me identify who you are by raising of hands. Which wards, which of the wards in which you reside? So Ward 2. Okay, several. Ward 3. Substantial. Ward 4. More substantial. And Ward 6. Okay. It helps, I think, our candidates tonight understand the audience, and hopefully the audience understands how the candidates are going to be presenting information. I have asked that the candidates be grouped together by their ward. So throughout the presentation tonight, I will be calling on the candidates from each ward consecutively. Not to encourage debate, but to allow the audience to hear together the message from their individual ward. So to my left, I have David Boyd and Sherry Draisey from Ward 2. Dyriw and Avia Eek, Ward 6. Jakob Schneider, Geoff Simpson, Ward 3. Asselstine and Bill Cober, Ward 4. The format for tonight's activities is going to be divided into two sections. Presentations by the candidate and questions from the audience. I will address the rules, guidelines, time limits, decorum, those types of issues prior to each section. The overall timing is that we hope to be clear of the formal component of this evening's activity shortly after 9, maybe a little longer, given that we got just maybe to start the inspection. The order, as you can imagine, with 8 presenters, is going to be, was a bit of a challenge. But I wanted to do it, as I say, by ward, and then randomly selected the wards. So I will call on the speakers in each of the 3 sections that start with their introduction of themselves and their issues for their ward. We will then flow into the prepared questions. Question number 1, I will read that at a time, and then question number 2. And each time I will call on the wards on a rotating random basis. For all 3 sections, candidates will have 2 minutes to make their presentation. We'll have a timekeeper and a bell, small bell. We'll ring it out 15 seconds before the 2 minutes are up, to give us all an opportunity to understand that the issues will be brought to a close, and if not, I will help it along. So, to start off the introductory comments, I will call in random order Ward 3 candidate Geoff Simpson to start us off, followed by Jacob, and then candidates from Wards 6, 4, and 2.
Well, I'll begin by thanking concerned citizens of King Township for putting on this event and last night's. Our moderator, Tom Butt, all of you folks for showing up, and all of my fellow candidates for standing. So I'm Geoff Simpson. I'm a longtime resident of King Township, and I'm campaigning to be your councillor for Ward 3. Thanks to all of you guys for showing up tonight. I'm committed to King Township. Since moving here, I have served over 50 cumulative years as a director on various volunteer boards in the city, in the township rather, including tonight's CCKT, was on Art Society King, Coal Creek Conservation Stewardship, and the McMichael Canadian Art Collection Volunteer Committee. And Art Council is essentially the board of director for all of us in the township. So my experience has taught me about the value of working well with other people, whether both the mundane or the challenging. I listen well, I do my research, and I don't make promises until I know all the information. I do promise to listen to my constituents, and will try to address your concerns, given the overriding greater common good. If circumstances are such that your concerns are not addressed to your liking, I'll endeavor to give you the information so that you understand why the decisions went that way. Over the last few weeks of knocking on doors and meeting my Ward 3 neighbors, I've learned a lot about what you love about King Township and what ails you. I can't promise to fix all your problems, but I will work to the best of my ability to give you the kind of representation that you deserve. So on October 2nd, or before, if you go to the event polls, I ask you to vote for Geoff Simpson for Ward 3. Thank you.
Thanks, Geoff. Now, over here, Jakob Schneider.
Good evening, fellow candidates and welcome guests. My name is Jakob Schneider, and I'm a lifelong resident of Ward 3 and 4th generation farmer in King. I have attended over 65% of King Council meetings this past term to gain the knowledge and experience that will enable me to have a strong voice on council as your representative. My community involvement was King specific. I have sat as director for King with York Federation of Agriculture the past 5 years and am current president. I'm a volunteer firefighter in King and also assist with public education in schools and at King Township events. I sit on King's Accessibility Advisory Committee and volunteer with Schomberg Farmers Market, just to name a few. Through conversation, listening to constituents, and attending local council meetings, I feel we should focus on road safety, upgraded infrastructure, internet and cell service, preservation of farmland, and being fiscally responsible. Our roads are a top priority in King, whether it be improving our gravel roads or converting them to asphalt. They need to be addressed. The cost of maintaining, just for an example, 1 kilometer of gravel road for 3 years will pay for paving that same stretch of road. Paving makes financial sense. Paved roads are easier to maintain and safer. We need to be putting our taxpayers' money into our needs rather than into our wants. I've seen substantial change in King over the years. We need to keep King green. I would encourage residents to partner with the TRCA for their reforestation program on lands which are not suited for farming. It is a great initiative, one that my family has participated in. With increased population and flow-through traffic, I have seen an increase in dumping of garbage on our rural roads. In addition to it being unsightly, it costs the township for cleanup. An initiative I would like to pilot is a waste depot. I'm eager to work with council and the community to make a positive difference. On October 22nd, vote Jakob Schneider, Councillor Ward 3. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacob. Now we'll hear from Avia Eek, Ward 6.
Good evening. Usually I don't even need a mic. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank our host, CCKT, for organizing this and last night's Meet the Candidates events. My name is Avia Eek. My husband Bill and I own and operate Eek Farms in the Holland Marsh where I've lived since 1988. I have had the honor and privilege of serving our community of Ward 6 since 2010 when you first put your trust and confidence in me to be your voice at the council table. In 2010, agriculture did not have a high profile and we needed a fresh perspective at the council table. It soon became clear to me and to others that I needed to be involved in a wider range of committees where our Ward 6 could potentially be impacted. I have embraced my service to our community with passion, dedication, and a collaborative mindset. Your priorities are my priorities. I am proud to state that together we have accomplished much for our small community and King Township as a whole. We will soon be at the design stage for our Ward 6 community hub. More roads are being scheduled for work. We are currently updating our official plan. We have started implementing a number of goals, tasks in your region's first ever Ag and Agriculture Food Strategy. I continue to work with our Economic Development Officer to recognize businesses in Ward 6 and our Spotlight on Business initiative. And I was able to garner support for the University of Guelph for their beneficial insects project with 5 sites around the Holland Marsh, to mention a few of our successes. Being the Ward 6, it gets faster. Being the Ward 6 councillor is about being there to help residents when you come to me with an issue. It's about listening to your concerns and helping to facilitate solutions to those concerns. It means building relationships and credibility with other levels of government, York Region, the province, and federally, including agencies like the Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority, York Regional Police, Canada Post, etc. It means working together as a team, community, council, staff, and whoever else we need to collaborate with to address what matters to our community. Representing Ward 6 is not a job one does alone. Your choice to provide me with your input makes me more effective for our community. My focus remains dealing with what matters most to our Ward 6 residents. Voting for Avia Eek ensures I will continue working for you, sowing the seeds of success through teamwork and collaboration. Thank you.
4 minutes of information. Ward 6, well, you have 2 minutes for your area.
Good evening, everyone. This is where I tell you why I've stepped up and chosen to run for council. Unfortunately, it wasn't an epiphany or a dream, it was more like a nightmare. $3.5 million of the $26 million canal reconstruction project is unaccounted for. Tipping fees during construction, unaccounted for. The 3 bridges in King, Jane Street, Dufferin Street, Graham Side Road, were to have been paid by this fund. Money ran out. You people, the good people of King, over $5 million paid for their construction. Drainage Board is scheduled next week in camera to discuss legal action. Good luck to that. While others buried their head in the sand, that was not enough for me. To ask questions not answered led me to being here. Blatant abuse and disregard of taxpayers' funds is absolutely deplorable. Drainage may not be a sexy topic du jour, mind you it is for me, But financially, it affects all of King taxpayers, and the dollars are huge at stake. I would be remiss if I didn't mention roads. Our 1940s roads in the Marsh are built on original muck, have taken a beating with the shortcut traffickers. School buses use these roads with virtually no shoulders. My specific interest in the issues affecting my ward do not preclude me from having an interest and knowledge of the rest of the municipality. After all, the Sentinel and connection do not leave the breakfast table. I am well aware of the issues, current and future, affecting the municipality, whether it's official plan update, greenbelt discussion, traffic, small business concerns, parking, or outcomes of future development. There are short and long-term implications on all matters. Different parties are affected, important matters have to be deliberated and decisions made. This at times becomes increasingly difficult as there may not be one right answer, instead a series of good options. I have an open mind and not afraid to listen and digest evidence-based data that could alter my opinion. And as important as decision-making is, the legalese terminology, fiduciary trust, is paramount. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. This first section of this evening's agenda is oriented to giving you information, the introduction and the prepared questions. So we're hoping that that information will turn around into questions for our 8 candidates in the second session. So as just a reminder to get that point, phrase it into a 30-second question, and line up with the microphone. Not quite yet, but I'll call it. Okay. Mary? Mary Asselstine? Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Mary Asselstine, and I'm running for Ward 4. A lot of you are going to know me as an environmentalist and as a naturalist, but I'm a whole lot more than that. I'm going to tell you something, and although this usually makes people fall asleep, I'm very, very skilled at understanding, interpreting, explaining policy documents, planning documents. In fact, I kind of enjoy it. And I've used this skill to help community groups and individuals understand the impact that planning and development has on them. I acquired this skill by working with the Conservation Authority as a plans analyst, where I also got an understanding of the Municipal Act, the Conservation Authorities Act, the Lakes and Rivers Improvement Act, the Environmental Assessment Act, the Greenbelt Plan, the Ocean Marine Conservation Plan, and it goes on and on. I have worked for the federal, provincial, and municipal governments, yes, all three of them, yeah. And I've been exposed to all kinds of bureaucracy, and I understand the strengths and the weaknesses of them. It's given me skills to navigate the systems for community groups, helping them to establish constitutions, write grant proposals, gain access to supports and resources, form budgets, and develop partnerships. And do you like the Duffer Marsh and the Schomberg Community Farm? I've had extensive experience in project management, and I have contributed greatly to the establishment of both of those groups. Each one provides vitality and diversity of the village and an opportunity for the community to be involved and to learn. I'm going to skip right to the bottom here. We need tools, policies, resources in place to achieve a community vision. I want to lead that. I have the skills, experience, passion, and commitment to do that for you.
Thank you, Mary. Next, I call on Bill Cober for 2 minutes.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bill Cober, and I'm thrilled and honored to be your Ward 4 Councillor in King Township. I'm seeking re-election as your Ward 4 Councillor. I'd like to thank the CCKT for hosting this event and you for attending and participating. I thoroughly enjoy serving as your councillor here in King Township. I was born and raised in this area, and I am proud to promote that I am a product of this community. I want my family and yours to continue to enjoy the lifestyle, community spirit, and opportunities that I enjoyed growing up, and we continue to enjoy today. Working to foster and build positive relationships with individual residents, the business community, community groups, township staff, and other levels of government is an exciting challenge. I am well aware of the opportunities and challenges our township faces on the road ahead. I have firsthand valuable experience of the work that is required to ensure our township's continued success. Here are some core priorities. Asset management of infrastructure, roads, and facilities. King Township has a 300-kilometer road network, and capital projects must be well planned, managed, and strategically invested in to support their continuous improvement. Supporting economic development and expanding our commercial industrial tax base. A broader tax base and strategic investment will lead to better services for the people of King Township. Embracing our investment in infrastructure and supporting our economic development strategy will continuously invite investment into King. Government relations. Working to educate upper levels of government on the needs of King Township. Advocating to our federal, provincial, and regional branches of government so they recognize the value of investment in King. During the upcoming term of council, working with our new provincial members of parliament is going to be key to our success. Thank you for your time this evening. I thank you for your continued partnership, and I look forward to continuing our work together to further enhance our great township.
Thanks, Bill. I'll call on David. David White, 2 minutes for here.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you to the concerned citizens of King Township for hosting this event this evening. It's important. All of us in this room share one thing in common, and that's what brought us here this evening. We came because we care about our community, and I thank you all for being here tonight. For those of you that know me, you'll know that I'm a father. I've been blessed with 2 lovely children, William, 10, Emma, 7, and I have a lovely supportive wife. Her name is Bessie. If you know a little bit about me, you'll know that my family's been here almost as long as the Schneiders. We're on our 3rd generation of living in this great community. My grandmother grew up in Lasky, and my mom grew up in a small house across from the fire hall. As a kid, I can remember the fire trucks going out, and I remember Bob Oak, and I remember running across the street with my grandfather to get tours of the fire hall. So I guess you could say this community, it helped shape me and who I am today. The reason that I want to be and continue to be the Ward 2 councillor is I want to help shape the community that shaped me. I want and envision a complete and healthy, sustainable community, a front porch type of community where neighbors know one another, interact, and go to events together. I want to create the type of community that my kids will want to raise their kids in, and will provide them the options to locate, and will provide the options for me to downsize so I can be a grandparent. I'm going to let you know a little bit about my priorities for the next term of council. Infrastructure investments to ease traffic and congestion. I believe we need a traffic or calming strategy, and that it should be a township-wide initiative. Worldwide access to high-speed internet. And I want to do this all while effectively managing your tax dollar. Thank you.
David, thank you. And our last candidate, Terry Draisey.
I'm Sherry, candidate for Ward 2. I came out here Sunday to check out the Pottageville Hall because, after all, the Lasky Hall is no longer in Lasky. I couldn't assume that I really knew where I was going. I've decided that Lasky needed more presence to both King staff and politicians, so that's why I'm here. My focus is pedestrian protection. Lasky would like a walkway, so I would focus on beginning construction of a pedestrian walkway. And associated with
pedestrian protection is the reduction of road rage. Road work schedules and their associated midterm construction hiatuses are frustrating all of us that drive in Nobleton. For future road work plans, I would review the details of what is to be accomplished, the schedule, and in particular, duration of lanes taken out of service. I would attempt to get lane restriction schedules posted online for the duration of the construction. I do have one personal project that I will try to implement in Lasky. That's a volunteer thing. I expect it should have a significant influence on heavy truck traffic in Lasky, as well as getting the attention of regional engineers. Protection from surrounding area traffic is key to sustaining King real estate values. Providing travel options for communities around us that allow them to get to their destination without driving over top of us is important. The increasing GO train service through King is offering some protections, as well as providing commercial opportunities within walking distance of King Station. The extension of Highway 427 to Major Mackenzie is going to help Nobleton a lot. The Bolton people struggling to get through to the 400 should decrease significantly. These are issues that appear to be outside the Ward 2 councillor's purview, but I believe there are ways to manipulate them to our advantage. Thank you.
That concludes the introduction of our candidates, but I think, or I hope that you will agree with what I'm going to tell you. What I heard just now, I heard a lot of personal introduction as well as a lot of board issues, which I think is terrific. And I do hope that duality, if you will, carries on in the answering of our prepared questions number 1 and prepared questions number 2. Both the answers to the question as the text is read, which I will read, and also overlay of the issues of the 4 wards. So I congratulate the candidates on giving us a breadth of information. So with that, I will now read this question and then call on the candidates to respond in this order. Ward 6, Ward 4, Ward 2, and Ward 3. Just to give you a bit of lead. Question 1 goes as follows. Who should take the lead on directing the planning and makeup of new subdivisions and other development project proposals? King Township or the developer? We have 8 answers. King City's new housing stock over the past 10 years is almost all exclusively large, single detached homes considered high-end and expensive. There are clearly broader social needs for alternative housing options not being met, and opportunities to build much more sustainable, eco-friendly homes. What is your vision for future housing in King City, Nobleton, and Schomberg, and how will you work with council and staff to implement this vision? Ward 6 is going to start us off. Roman, you have 2 minutes to give us your answer, please. Is the mic right there, or?
Without doubt, the lead on future project should be the municipality. Staff's knowledge, council's direction, even residents all come to form a model that acts as a guide for our requirements. Certain characteristics important to the community, green space, walkways, bicycle paths, may come at an expense at a developer. Also, the municipality should not only be looking short-term at any one proposal, but on its impact on future neighboring proposals to maintain continuity in its vision. That being said, a developer's knowledge, expertise, and experience should not be discounted, especially in regards to the marketplace. I don't see why there can't be a collaboration in working on a project. Regarding the so-called high-end expensive homes that are bringing new residents into this community, I don't feel it's necessary necessary to compromise that market segment. New residents coming into this municipality are embracing this model, and inventory keeps selling out. Regarding alternative housing, in order to consider something other than the larger houses, in order to consider something different, such as high-end townhomes or reverting to higher density housing, one would have to study the impact on transit and roads. Given that eco-friendly, sustainable homes are premium priced, all things being equal, the municipality would be a good candidate to initiate such an undertaking, perhaps as a pilot project. The municipality is noted for its premium priced housing market, and this idea, although not novel, could prove to be an interesting mix in the housing marketplace. Thank you.
Roman, thank you. Avia, you have 2 minutes to answer the third question.
I thought I put 4 minutes into it.
Okay.
King Township is taking the lead on implementing policy for a variety of housing stock. Every development application that comes before council is met with requests by members of council and members of the public for a variety of housing stock, lid measures, green roofs, etc. Our ICSP, Integrated Community Sustainability Plan 2012, which is an overarching document that's leading the way for sustainability for everything future in King Township, states that we have that initiative. So under the environmental pillar, subcategory land use planning, that does reference the need for a variety of housing stock, as the majority of housing, as we know, in King is large single-family dwellings. I support recommendations in our ICSP and in our land use documents, and it's important to note, as many in this room already are aware, when we developed that ICSP, that was developed by members of our community, actively taking part in how they wanted to see our community develop in the future. So as many of you may also be aware, King Township is in the process of updating our official plan as it is outdated, going back to the 70s. Our new official plan will include policies and other tools to help us achieve this goal. Further, and I realize that housing stock is different from affordable housing, but this too is an issue, York Region has put together a working group comprised of municipal staff from the 9 municipalities that make up York Region with a view to finding solutions for affordable housing through purpose-built rentals. Thank you.
Thank you, Avia. Ward 4, Bill.
Thank you for the question. The planning process is a complex journey with many stakeholders. Provincial legislation such as the Places to Grow Act, township community plans, the Region of York official plans, and guidelines all influence development and development applications. The important work is for council to have clear plans that guide our township portion of these planning tools to influence the development proposals that fit in our township. Council sets a clear vision to work with investors as they look to King. The only successful way is with a collaborative dialogue right from an initial pre-consultation meeting right through the planning process. A diversified range of housing options have started to emerge in King in recent years, and we must continue to support this mix to provide a diverse inventory for our current and future residents. Infrastructure must be invested in strategic locations to support the diversification of our housing inventory. In Ward 4 specifically, the Triumph condo is an example of intensification on the old alfalfa lands that fits well within our community and brings about choice. I have always embraced a collaborative, consultative role with the community, landowners, staff, and other agencies involved with an application. A solutions-oriented approach to planning and housing works for all involved. In King City, we have an application with stacked townhouses within walking distance to the GO train. Exploring and considering secondary suites, otherwise known as granny suites, is another example that is starting to emerge. Understanding market demands and integrating community needs is a constant dialogue that must be continuous and ongoing with all partners as the needs and demands change for housing. Thank you.
intensification, and higher densities is one of the guiding principles of the Ontario Growth Plan, and I agree with this concept. In going door to door, I've heard again and again and again, we need smaller, more affordable homes that will assist those who want to downsize, and that will be new homes for those that are just starting out. In fact, I've been hearing this same plea since 1985 when I first arrived in Schomberg. The application of higher density and intensification, however, needs to take into account the existing features of a specific community and the vision that community has for the future. The growth plan also recognizes principles of complete communities, employment opportunities, range and mix of housing options, protecting and enhancing the natural environment, conserving and promoting cultural heritage resources, and climate change considerations. I believe in all of these guiding principles. The trick is how to balance them for each community and for each development proposal. The answer is through effective community dialogue and collaboration, and finding a strong vision for the community. I led the recent charge on 66 Main Street in Schomberg, collaborating with and advocating for the community and working with developers to get a better proposal. A vision is set through our official plan, which is currently under review. Public input for this review is critical if we want to see our communities change and grow the way we want. If you want a voice in how we grow and change, you need to vote for me. I will be your advocate in collaborative dialogue.
Thanks, Mary. Jerry, can you take the next 2 minutes?
Does this work? Okay. I don't think I'm going to take 2 minutes. I'm very interested in the community, in all the communities in King, because I'd like to be able to live here after I quit driving. And at this point, I can't see how that's possible. I'd also like a place where I didn't have to go up and down stairs, because after I'm about 80, then people die falling up and down stairs. So I am very interested in there being some kind of condos that people can use. But I think before we can expect that to happen, we have to solve some of the transportation problems, particularly for getting old people to the doctor or to the grocery store, to allow them to have some mobility. Some of that will be a bus, some of it will be sidewalks, but I think we can't expect people to want to come here unless they have the ability to get around. And I think the residents of King the aging residents of King are an ideal market to focus on in developing this more concentrated housing stock. The other thing I'd like to see in terms of development, particularly with respect to Nobleton and particularly with respect to global warming, I believe there are already some drainage issues that have caused Nobleton a problem. And extreme weather events are only going to make that worse, so that I think we have to pay particular attention to how well the developers are allowing for drainage and maybe even in some cases improving what we've already got, because we do have some problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. David?
Thank you. And thanks for the question. Creating a broader range of housing stock is imperative to the sustainable King. To properly address this question, it's essential to understand that township plans are required to conform with provincial plans, such as the Greenbelt Plan, the Growth Plan, the Lake Simcoe Protection Plan, and the Oak Ridges Marine legislation. King's plans are also required to be brought into conformity with the region's official plan. That being said, this is a very exciting time for King. King's official plan review is underway. The review process provides residents and community stakeholders the opportunity to express their vision for the future of the township and help shape policy to guide growth and development. I encourage everyone here tonight to engage themselves in the OP review process. Developing a first-rate official plan is essential to environmental health and social well-being. The new official plan will be the framework for King's professional staff and assist in ensuring recommendations brought before council align with the objectives of the community, such as homes for our seniors looking to downsize and options for new families looking to establish in King.
Now, Ward 3, Jacob.
Taking lead on any future planning throughout the Township of King should be led by council with direction and advice from their staff. Councils can suggest to developers what to build, but at the end of the day, the developer is about the best bang for his dollar and what he can make the best money on. And the question I ask you is, what is an affordable piece of property in King? We look at Toronto, and it's got its different areas. Forest Hill, and then you've got subsidized housing at Jane and Weston Road and Lawrence. So King, in my opinion, is like Forest Hill. It is the more expensive place to live, and we are going to pay the price to live here. As for eco-friendly building, houses are being built at a higher standard to be more energy efficient. As for geothermal, an option which has been in our house since 1987 is not a sustainable financially route to go, as we are converting over to propane because of the higher cost to run the geothermal. But the bottom line is, I'm in favor with pushing for seniors residence within the township, as the waiting list, as I know with my grandfather that lives with us, is extensive. And for him at 90 years old to be put on the waiting list, he would be over 100 by the time he gets on. So that is what I would be pushing for, is not necessarily the affordable housing, because as we see, developers are pushing these big monstrosity houses and they're selling out. So it's going to be really hard for us to get an affordable house built in King Township. Thank you.
Jeff? All right. And so, question number 1.
So, in a perfect world, council would take the lead on the direction and planning, makeup of new subdivisions and other development project proposals, as we have the best interests of our community at heart. Unfortunately, that's not the way it works. As you've heard from fellow councillors, well, not fellow councillors yet, but from existing councillors, there's a lot behind the scenes that make it that we just can't flip our fingers and make this stuff happen. Provincial plans, there's all sorts of stuff. There are minimum building codes and constraints that developers have to adhere to, and with profit as their motivation, they're unlikely to greatly exceed these. There is a definite need for a better mix of housing stock so that our children and parents and grandparents can stay in our community. In line with my vision of King, where we are able to accommodate the coming intensification without drastically changing the rural, agricultural, and equestrian nature, and attracting business and industrial so that we can mitigate future tax increases. I would love to see something like 20% of new development aimed at children and senior affordable housing. I will work with council and staff in whatever way possible to try and suggest these alternatives to developers that are coming in so that we can start moving in that direction. Thank you.
So that concludes the second section. And we're going to proceed now to the prepared question number 2, which again you have a copy of, and I will read. And then call on candidates in this order to help you prepare order Ward 4, Ward 2, Ward 3, and then Ward 6. So question number 2 shifts the focus a bit away from the content of council to the focus on the individual, time, commitment, and availability. The question is as, although formerly a part-time position in King Township over the past 10 years, being a counselor has become increasingly more complex and demanding and requires a significant amount of time and focus, reading agendas and reports, research, council and committee meetings, public events, attendance at conferences, meaningful interaction and communication with constituents. That said, this role provides some valuable compensation besides the intrinsic rewards of serving the public. Approximately $25,000 a year in salary, plus health benefits, a pension plan, and some allowable expenses. So a two-phase question for the candidates to answer. Please briefly describe your present career and your volunteer obligations, and describe how you will make time available for the responsibilities and commitments of the councillor role to ensure you serve your constituents and King Township well. Second part of this question. For all candidates running, list the volunteer organizations or township committees you currently represent, and briefly describe your responsibilities in those committees. On which township committee and in which volunteer activity are you interested in participating should you be elected? So, first to answer this question, Mary?
Wow, you can have that one.
Thank you. So where do I start with this? I've been involved in so many groups and have been shaping my community since I moved here in 1985. The Duffer Marsh Committee, the Schomberg Skating Club, Softball Association, the Schomberg Community Farm, and even the Schomberg Business Association. My philosophy on volunteerism stems from my belief in community and making community better. While working, I contributed to many events and organizations in and around Schomberg, networking, fundraising, supporting vision, and lending a hand wherever it was needed, and I built strong partnerships in the local volunteer sector. Although I retired from my job, I currently hold positions in 4 committees: the Duffer Marsh Nature Connection, of which I'm a founding member and leader; the Schomberg Community Farm, again a founding member and leader; the Main Street Revitalization Committee; and Emmanuel Presbyterian Church, where I sit as a ruling elder. In addition, I follow closely the development of planning documents for the township, starting with the Schomberg Community Plan back in 1989-90, and more recently with the new zoning for Schomberg, the Greenbelt expansion, and the proposed official plan for the Township of King. The role of councillor, as I see it, is to be an advocate for the community. I cannot disassociate my activities from that larger role. It is a continuation of the same thing I have always done. My commitment to my community will be full-time, as it's always been. My interests, skills, and experience may be suitable for participating in a number of township committees. With my planning and environmental sciences background, I could make reasonable contributions to the Heritage Committee, the Sustainability Committee, the Conservation Authority Executive Committee, and I would be pleased to attend any community group meeting if they need their counselor there.
Thank you, Mary. Bill?
Thank you for the question. Through my work as your counselor, I'm pleased to share how I provide the time, commitment, and availability. My career is in the role of principal with the York Region District School Board. As many of you know, the bulk of the time as a municipal counselor here in King is during the evening hours. We in King are very inclusive of our residents' participation in council, committee, and community meetings, and schedule all meetings in the evening when the majority of residents are able to attend and engage. As I have demonstrated over the years through my dedication, my career aligns well with the time commitment to successfully carry out the many responsibilities as your counselor. Through my years on council, I have had the opportunity to be involved in numerous boards and committees. A few examples over the years are various hall boards, arena board, budget committees, emergency preparedness working group, economic development advisory committee, collective bargaining advisory committee, the list goes on. The work of these various committees was to represent council and act as a liaison to the community council and staff. Throughout the term of council, you are always attending meetings with community groups to support their work and act as a liaison to the township as well. Most recently, this year in 2018, the Region of York passed a bylaw for single representatives to appoint a regional designate if their mayor, whose regional councillor, is absent or not available. So we will have a voice and a vote at the regional council table. I am honored that my council colleagues voted and appointed me as King's regional designate. I was sworn into regional council and now act in that additional capacity on behalf of the township mayor and council. In the new term of council, I will be willing as always to contribute in any capacity. The composition of council and various strengths and interests of members will guide committee decisions. I am always interested to learn and grow, and one committee that I have not yet served on but I'd be welcome would be the library board. I look forward to the continuous learning. Thank you.
So we all know the old saying, when you love what you do, it doesn't feel like work. Life for me is about community. I am fortunate that my career as a firefighter allows me the time to be fully involved. Since being elected, I've worked collaboratively with members of council, staff, advisory boards, and community stakeholders to enhance and improve our villages. Together, we've celebrated the opening of new parks, improvements to our infrastructure, and upgrades to our buildings. As the incumbent, I know the level of commitment, the time required, and I have proven my ability to provide Ward 2 with strong representation. I am proud of my 100% attendance to all scheduled meetings of council. A little bit about myself. I've been serving the King community for over 22 years as a volunteer. I'm a volunteer with King Fire and Emergency Services in my 15th year. I'm a captain there. I've coached hockey for the past 7 years. I'm a member of King's Sustainability Committee. I'm also a member of the Victoria Day Committee and the Tree Lighting Committee, and I volunteer at Nobleton Public School. Not only do I volunteer, but I'm an active participant in the King Men's Hockey League, the Nobleton Men's Baseball League, even the men's night at the Nobleton Lakes Golf Course. And I'm also a member at St. Paul's Church. Being involved in the community allows me to best represent the 23 households that make up Ward 2. Thank you. I don't have a lot of Ward 2 is the largest ward per household in the Township of King. So I represent 2,300 households. So next to the mayor, I represent the most of King Township.
Yeah, I think even last week was 21 and 23.
For my career, I worked from Lasky now. It's a home business, and it's an engineering service business to the aerospace sector. So and most of what I do now, we have a small bit of manufacturing we do for brain research devices for timing, and most of what I do is research and development now. So that allows me to keep a very flexible schedule. So I have no problem, getting over to meetings in the daytime or in the evening. I'm not currently on any volunteer committees. I have been on volunteer committees and would be happy to join, in particular, any committee who thought having an engineer on board would be helpful. Thank you.
Jeff, can you walk us through your answer to the prepared question?
All right. So as an entrepreneur in York Region, I provide IT services to small businesses. Prior to moving to York Region, I lived in Toronto and developed my technology expertise through jobs and projects dealing with design, production, teaching, and support. Prior to the election, I was a board member with CCKT. I'm stepping down for obvious reasons. I'm still on the board of the Cold Creek Conservation Stewardship and the Humber Valley Heritage Trail Association. I'm a webmaster for the King Township Food Bank, and I help out with a variety of community events such as the Main Street Christmas. As an entrepreneur, I have a degree of flexibility with my time, and I will have no problem devoting the appropriate amount of time to being a councillor. Although all the King committees look pretty interesting to me, if elected, I would be happy to get involved with the Sustainability Committee and the Heritage Advisory Committee, and the Library Committee.
Thanks, Jeff. Jacob? Thank you.
I have a proven positive track record in King to do with volunteer obligations. I am a current member with the King Township Accessibility Advisory Committee, which, in fact, is the best committee.
Yay!
I am current York Region Federation of Agriculture President and Director for King, and I'm also a volunteer firefighter with King, which I previously discussed. Technology makes us available and constantly connected. So through that, we can show that I will be connected. And through the fire department, we have to be ready 24/7, 365 to meet the needs of our residents. So with that teaching from the fire department, I will be putting that into becoming or being a counselor. I will remain on my current communities within the township and the region, which are the AAC Committee and the York Region Federation of Agriculture. Thank you.
Avia, use the next 2 minutes to give us your answer to prepared question.
Thank you, Tom. Currently, I am owner-operator with my husband of Eek Farms in the Holland Marsh, where my role is secretary-treasurer, performing all duties associated with farm office administration, as well as the main tractor driver at harvest time. When I'm not able to do it, my son fills in for me. Since my husband is the main operator of our farm business of 85 acres, this provides me the required flexibility with scheduling of all my municipal responsibilities. If you were to ask him, and he is here tonight, what comes first, he'll tell you her responsibility as councillor is her first priority. My attendance at and participation in the several boards and committees I currently am involved with is exemplary. Since first being elected in 2010, I have attended every regularly scheduled council committee of the whole meeting, missing none. I have attended every working session. I have only missed one special council meeting in 8 years that was scheduled last minute while I was away. I attend as many new business openings as I am able, given all of the above responsibilities, and also support as many township-wide events and celebrations as time permits. If I'm not able to attend in person, I support our community through my use of social media. I'm a freak that way. LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram to spread the word to the larger community. And for those residents whose emails I have, I also send a community update when there's important meetings they need to attend and information they need to have. To me, being the councillor representing Ward 6 is not a part-time position. And while we do not have the same pressures and challenges of an urban area, agriculture is very complex, as are the policies, rules, and regulations that impact what we do in the countryside. Being present, having the respect of those I serve with, and speaking up in the variety of roles I have makes a big difference for Ward 6. The boards and committees, this is the second part, the boards and committees I am currently involved with. Oh wow, okay. Chair of Thornton Vale Steering Committee establishing a management plan for this conservation area in Ward 6 as an LSRC initiative. Lake Simcoe Coordinating Committee appointed by the province in May 2016 representing agriculture and municipality. Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority appointed by your region in 2011 representing the township. Sustainability Advisory Committee appointed by council in 2012. Golden Horseshoe Food Farming Alliance appointed by York Region in April 2017 representing York Region. York Region agriculture.
Rowan, could you wrap up presentation on question number 2?
Currently, I'm a self-employed farmer with a produce packaging operation in the Holland Marsh. This career has given me exposure to all facets of a business experience, managing people and dealing with customers nationally and internationally. I regularly interact with various levels of provincial bodies, ministries of agriculture, environment, natural resources, transportation, to name a few. Given the necessity of specialized equipment on a vegetable farm, I operate a MIG welder, plasma cutter, lathe and milling machine. Not a day goes by on the farm when you're not learning something new. And yet Mother Nature will humble you if you get too cocky. I only point this out to stress the importance of open-mindedness, learning, and survival in a highly competitive environment. In the past few years, I've already scaled back my workload by renting out, sharecropping, and farming approximately 1/3 of my land. Potential committees, I believe I have intimated that the Holland Marsh Drainage Board would definitely be in my interest. Heritage is another one that I would find intriguing. I don't know if any of you recognize the name Elizabeth Gillum, who wrote a book on the history of King Township, was my grade school teacher in Kettleby Public, whom I enjoyed and still have fond memories. But don't blame her for my shortcomings.
Well, I can guarantee you last night, not one of the candidates identified that they could operate a MIG welder, so. Game Ward 6. They're not here, so I can. Let's catch our breath and prepare to move into the next section of this evening's agenda, which is your section. The role of the moderator, and I'll get into this in closing, really is to ensure that the audience needs are met. So this is your opportunity. There will be a bit of decorum, a bit of guidelines, rules, if you will, just so that we can move forward for the next half hour or so consistently. We ask that you ask a question, as opposed to a short question, as opposed to trying to make a point or a speech. This is the opportunity for the candidates to present their image to you. 30 seconds to ask your question. You can address it to one or more, all of the candidates. The candidates will have up to 1 minute to respond to the question. If you address it to just one, then the other candidates can, and then hopefully they'll be able to wave and catch my attention, use up to 30 seconds to answer the question by making a point to their agenda, to their message. So that's we want to keep it on track, have the questioner be the focus and the question being answered. If you take up more than 30 seconds, or the candidates take up more than a minute to answer, I will help you formulate your question and your answer. So the microphone is here. If you could identify yourself, and as we've been trying to do all night, identify the ward you're from, which will help us maybe put the question in some type of parameters. So over to you.
Slow, I thought I'd have to raise my mic.
Good evening. My question is for the Ward 3 candidates. How have you prepared yourself to better represent your constituents with the concerns and the issues in Ward 3?
Go ahead. Use the local mic at the same time.
It works. So to prepare myself better for this position, 5 years ago I showed interest in running for King Council and approached a certain councillor. And for the last 4 years, so this past term, I've attended over 65% of the King Council meetings, read agendas, read reports, informed myself on current issues. I'm currently going door to door and have been going door to door, learning my ward-specific concerns as well as my community involvement through the fire department, which I may have been to one of your houses for a fire call, and we get talking about issues around the ward. Also through the York Federation of Agriculture, I have now learned, as of this past meeting, that we are down to 7 dairy farms in Ward 3. So that's just an example of how to find out, or how I have learned to find out my different constituent concerns. Thank you.
Nice ringer question. I've been getting involved with my community since I moved here 12 years ago. I've been involved with Art Society King. I've been involved with Coal Creek Stewardship. I guess probably most importantly over the last 5 years, concerned citizens of King Township. And we see a lot of the issues that are frustrations for not just Ward 3 residents, but all of the township. So I've had a chance to dig deep and research into some of the issues that are causing challenges for you. On top of that, one of the things that we all get to do as candidates is to go out and meet our neighbors. So like the rest of us, I've been knocking on doors and having a great opportunity of meeting my fellow neighbors and finding out what your concerns are. So I research, I work hard towards things, and I try to get as much information about what's happening as I can. So that's what I'm doing.
I have to identify myself, right?
Right?
I have to identify myself, right?
No, if you're great.
Well, my name is Michael Avasado, and I live in Ward 4, but I'm not as old as most people here, but I've lived in Township my whole life. I'm here representing my family who have other obligations, but it's mostly for Ward 4, but it's for pretty well everyone. I want to know how you are all going to keep King Township both green, but also built up and kind of a sustainable type of growth. Because I don't want to tell my kids in 20 years, oh, you know, nothing was gone past Highway 9, but now it's all skyscrapers, kids. Like, I don't want to tell them that, but I don't want to see it farm for the rest of my life.
The question is sustainability.
Yeah.
I think it's been a theme of the whole evening. Good question, thank you. And addressed to whom?
All of them.
All of them. Bill, can you give us 30 seconds to answer that question?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Lawson, for the question. And nice to see young folks out and contributing and interested in the future of King. So congratulations on being here. As you may have heard earlier with the dialogue that we had around the planning question, King is updating its official plan. And this process is going to guide exactly what you speak of in your question. Community consultations are going to take place in 2019 as the draft plan evolves, and we encourage folks like you and everyone in this room and in the community to come out and engage in that. And so that will be the key ingredient for making that happen, what you've asked for. Thank you for being here in your question.
Mary?
Thank you for your question. We're going to have the official plan, but we also have other planning legislation in place that's going to help protect our green space. We have the Oak Ridges Marine Plan, and we also have the Greenbelt Plan. They help dictate the edges of an existing built-up area, which is going to concentrate the expansion of the urban setting within the urban boundaries that exist today. That's why consideration of intensification and higher density is so important, so that we're able to keep the urban development inside those urban areas. There's a lot of other things that can help to improve our green spaces out there, a lot of other programs, and I hope that your family and yourself can take advantage of those. Thank you.
David, can you add a good height?
Yeah, I appreciate the question as well. And like I said, I'm a father, and really the reason why I do this is so that my kids can enjoy King as well. I'm a member of the Sustainability Committee, and the Sustainability Committee is a group that meets independently of council. King has a sustainability plan, and it's our mandate to make sure that the plans that come before us and the staff reports that are brought before council are reflective of the initiatives that are outlined in the sustainability plan. So one of my goals in the next term of council, as we go through the official plan process, is to make sure that the OP aligns with the sustainability plan. And I thank you and appreciate the question.
Okay, now I think King is one place that global warming may help if we can stay ahead of it. Global warming needs things to be kept green. Nothing takes CO2 out of the air better than so far than things that grow. And absorbing water on these extreme events is really important for surviving. And so keeping the trees and keeping the grass to increase the friction so when the water's running off, it's not flooding things. So if we can manage to stay ahead in our planning, I think we should do okay.
Being slightly older than the young gentleman, I've lived through seen a lot of mayors and councillors, administrations come and go, but the agenda has never been hijacked. King's destiny is partly ruled by the council and administration, but a lot by the people in this room. The people have kept it true to its spirit and character, and I don't think that that overdevelopment will ever happen. We're just getting old King with new housing progress, which is inevitable, and it's got to keep going that way.
Okay, so Councillor Boyd absolutely nailed it. I'm just going to expand further on what he said. As you've all heard, the official plan review is currently in the process of being reviewed, but we're looking at a final adoption date of September 2019. This spring we will be looking at zoning bylaws for the rural and hamlet areas, and as I've been telling people at the doors that I've been knocking on, I will be asking you when I send out my community update, I will be asking you to put your bottoms in seats and help develop what our plans are going to be for where we live in our community.
Not much to add other than what others have said. Basically, we need to work within the existing framework, get your input on the official plan review, and make sure that development happens in the development appropriate places, not the rural areas.
To answer the question, and I'm probably around your age, I would work with the official plan that will be set by next fall. And the thing is, we will have development, whether we like it or not, but there are areas in King which you cannot develop. Half the time you cannot get a barn building permit in those areas, never mind development. So we need to be preserving our agricultural farmland, or we will not be able to feed these new developments. So we need to be wise on where we put these developments, not on prime agricultural land. Thank you.
I almost feel like calling on Greg Locke to help answer this question from his role as moderator last night for Wards 1 and 5. I think you remember from my introduction that there was a different flavor last night than the one that I was hoping to see tonight, and fortunately, so far, it's gone through. Last night, it was development and the population growth and traffic and a different flavor than what you were presenting, and thank you for your question. So, next question.
Hi. My question is to Ward 3. Knowing the conditions of the rural roads in King Township, specifically pertaining to your ward, what suggestions would you present to council to upgrade those roads? Because I've been on some of those roads and I don't know if my car would have made it if I, but anyway.
Well, I'll start off this time. Through Through knocking on doors, there's no question that the quality of roads are the #1 concern amongst the residents. And it's not always the same thing. On a lot of the unpaved roads, I found it's almost a 50-50 split. Some people do not want the road paved because it's going to lead to increased speed. The other half are frustrated with the multiple repairs that they're doing on their vehicles. The grading quality has apparently gone down over the last 15 years, whether it's, I don't know, goose muck that somebody referred it to, but it just doesn't seem to be the same aggregate or quality of grading that we used to have. On roads like the 17th and paved roads, their concerns are speed. We have people racing through there on Saturday evenings, accidents. A couple here have had 6 cars roll over into their front yards since we moved in here. So there's no easy answer. What I will look at is to see how affordable or how it can affordably get some roads paved, and for those that can't, what sort of traffic calming measures are appropriate. I don't have the answers. That's what staff and other councillors are for, to be able to give that background. Thank you.
As stated, it is a mixed feeling whether we pave roads or keep them at gravel. So we need to work with the residents to see what their opinion on paving or maintaining. I've lived on the 10th concession my entire life. My mom's lived on the 10th concession her entire life. It's been unmuddied. The 10th concession in front of our house, south of the 16th, is still a wood-based road. In the spring, the frost pushes up the clay, and it's muck. It's impassable. Speed is going to happen whether it's gravel or pavement. As a firefighter, I've been to accidents on both the paved roads and the gravel roads. It's safer for these speeders to be doing what they're doing on the pavement rather than the gravel. But we got to weigh the options of cost. It is my knowledge and awareness that within 3 years of paving a road, that road is paid for. Thank you.
Okay, some other words.
My name is Steve Bradley. I've been a proud citizen of Schomberg for 28 years. A couple of weeks ago, it seems I opened a can of worms when I posted some aerial shots of the truck dump at Highway 27 Euro Side Road. My question is basically the Ward 4 councillors, but anybody, because it's going to become a King Township issue. What is being done? Why is it being taken so long, and what can be done to clean up the site that these photos shown is not storage? There's a wrecking yard there, and can we get it at least moved, covered, or bylaws changed? Thank you, and pass it.
Thank you, Steve, for the question, and we've had a handful of conversations over the last few weeks about this. So there's some factual information to share about this particular property in question. The property is zoned M2, and under the M2 zoning, the property used to be, and for years and years ago, some of you may be familiar with this, the Ken Maynard equipment dealership, and there was a tractor display and tractor equipment on the land. Councillor Eek mentioned earlier that we're updating our rural area zoning bylaw. We've just gone through the process, and council has gone through the process of updating the zoning bylaw in the urban areas. And now we're going through the process to update the zoning in the rural areas. And that will impact this particular property. As you may be familiar, there's ongoing work by our bylaw department on this particular property, and that continues as we speak. This is under the 1974-53 zoning bylaw, so this is going to update things and make things different. The challenge being product display is available on that property, and so the current zoning permits that, but there are some ongoing bylaw issues that are taking place. Thank you for the care and concern. It's a concern for all of us here and all of us in the room. Thank you.
Yeah, that's quite an eyesore down at the corner of Highway 27 427 and the Aurora-Ton Road. I think if there were really serious about revitalizing the main street of Schomberg and caring about our community, we've got to care about gateways into our community. And this is one of our gateways into Schomberg. I think there's a two-phased approach that I think we should have on this property. The first one is get some screening up on that somehow so that it's not impacting the gateway into our community, so that when tourists come, they want to come to Schomberg. And then the second one, as Councillor Cober said, it's a complex issue of zoning. And so the second approach would be to work with the zoning, to work with bylaw, to work with the Conservation Authority, to work with the landowner to improve that property or have them start doing something different on the property. It's going to be a long process, but I think it needs to be done.
Candidates with comparable, similar issues in their wards? Sir.
Hi, my name's Earl Laycock, and I live in Nobleton, have for the last 6 years or so. Enjoy it very much, but there are problems that we have, and I'm sure David knows. So I'm going to direct my question to Ward 2, but others can comment as well. And basically, the problem I'm talking about is traffic on King Road. And for instance, this summer it was pretty hot, so we used our air conditioner during the day. But at night, it'd be nice to turn it off and open our windows. Well, we can't do that because tractor trailers start going through at 3:30 in the morning. And the dust and the noise continues all day. And really,
Any question for us?
the question is, what can be done to mitigate this? Because when I go to Bolton, I see a sign that says, no tractor trailers allowed through here. We got to divert around Bolton. Why not Bolton? Thank you.
Thank you.
Earl, I appreciate the question and where you're coming from. I wasn't sure which one of the issues you were going to bring forward tonight. This is one that certainly I'm comfortable speaking to. So traffic is an issue throughout, let's just say, the whole municipality of York Region. King Road, Highway 27 being regional roads do present specific challenges for Nobleton and our residents. One of the things that I'm pleased to see occurring right now, although it comes with its growing pains and delays, is the widening of the 400 to keep some of these trucks where they belong on 400 series highways and ideally out of our villages. Another thing that I believe in is we have to take care of our own backyard. Yes, 27 King Road are regional roads, but we need to improve and invest in our existing road network, so when there's delays or collisions in town, there's alternate routes for trucks to go. And I appreciate the question.
Yeah, it is a really difficult problem. I don't think 400 is going to help much. It's just going to get us back to where we were. I really hope for 427 is actually going to help, because I think a fair amount of the truck traffic is coming from Bolton. It's not even York traffic. And I think in our plans, we have to try to keep in mind protecting York and discouraging, making other options for those around us. And certainly 427 should help that quite a bit. The other thing that I think last year, I'm pretty sure it's going to help when they put a light at the Kingston Line and Western Road. If you disrupt the traffic flow, it's not the fastest way to get there, then they go somewhere else. So unpleasant driving conditions, maybe in the middle of the night would be helpful.
Sir.
Hi, I'm from Ward 1. Am I allowed to speak? My name is Cober. My issue is that the moraine lands. I think moraine land laws are tigers without teeth, okay? I need big sense. The whole traffic, first of all, 3 years ago, my neighbor put in 15 to 25,000 tons of fill on top of the moraine, okay? The domination on my road kills me, right? Looks like hell. Then this year, for the last 5 weeks, in your ballpark, there's about 25 to 30,000 tons of fill dumped 18156 Dufferin Street, okay? Where they come from, I check it out. They came from downtown Toronto. I was yesterday for the tractor trailer. And my point is, Keir Street is like a rabbit, but all the other streets, 16th side road, newly paved, you know? Yes, I know, it must be done, that show that so-called.
Would you like to address the question to whom?
Anybody. I haven't got any answer so far yet. Anybody, you know?
Thank you.
Okay, so you are not the only person who's been making inquiries about the fill that's been brought into Dufferin.
I thought it was going on.
Nope. I had about 5 residents along that road call me, and with a number of questions, you know, do they have a permit? Is there money being taken for the road? Anyway, the short answer is that is a temporary landfill site, because you may or may not be aware the Miller Side Road dump is just a hop, skip, and a jump away from that particular site. So that we're in the process of closing it, and we have to follow criteria through the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change, or whatever they call it now. And so we were waiting for a survey to get done of that land. In the meantime, we had access to this fill, and we needed a storage facility. There is nothing being built there. It's not on the moraine specifically, because that was checked into the conservation. It's not on the Conservation Authority land. That soil was tested. When it goes to the dump, it will be tested again, but it will not be staying there. Nothing is being built. That's just to help us facilitate the closing of the dump on Miller Side.
Commissioner, you are from
They're building high-rise in Toronto. They have to find somebody who takes their fill and
Thank you.
lead them to it here.
Thank you. Question? Great, thank you.
Hi, my name is Michelle McNally, and I run the Nobleton Children's Theatre Company, which wouldn't actually exist if it wasn't for David Boyd suggesting it to me, because, you know, as an actor, and I love children, I volunteer at the school. Anyway, so as a community group, we perform all over the township, and we have to sit on any committees like the Kettleby 150th, and we have to really get along with the counselor, and the counselor has to make sometimes things happen for you or get you free rehearsal space or whatnot. And I tried to find out a little something about Sherry, because, you know, you're in my board. But I couldn't really, my question is, for community groups, like specifically Sherry, David's done good stuff for our group. Is there something that you could do for community groups in Nobleton?
Probably not. We're not as art focused, and I think a lot of those, and I'm not, because I'm not school oriented. I think those are the two big communities.
David pointed out there are grants and things that we have applied for.
Well, but my answer was probably not.
Other councilors, or other candidates?
I'll go at that one, I think, a little bit. Michelle, I thank you for the question, and for all the candidates up here. I can tell you one of the biggest things that I learned as a Ward 2 council is the importance of working with our community groups, our community stakeholders. It leads to great things for our community. You get children's theater that's free for our kids to attend. You get the Lions Club investing in our parks and infrastructure. These relationships are truly, it's one of the responsibilities of the council to foster these relationships and make sure they continue. And we need to be appreciative of the people that volunteer in our community groups and organizations. There's really not too much that's that trumps it, and we can well move that forward.
I have 2 questions this evening, two separate groups. The first question is for Jacob. I was reading the survey on the Concerned Citizens group, and I noticed that you didn't answer, and I'd like to know why. Secondly, Avia, I would like you to respond to Roman's accusations, or not directly about you, but about the overspending. There was an award, I don't know anything about it, it was news to me, so I wonder if you could shed some light on why that overspending happened.
Jacob?
Yeah. So, about a month ago, I think, we were emailed from the CCKT 14 questions that we could volunteer to answer. It was a choice that I did not answer. I read through them, and I am available to answer them tonight, which I had emailed Bruce Craig that I would bring my answers to the all candidates meetings if required. I have been going door to door, learning my ward-specific concerns, and reading those questions were very broad and didn't cover a lot that was Ward 3 specific.
If this is the forum for answering that question, I'm not sure. Would
I can answer.
you like to take a crack at it? Sure.
Okay, so first of all, you have to understand that the Drainage Board has nothing to do with King Township Council. It is a separate entity that was created because the Drainage Board is operated, the Holland Marsh is shared between Bradford, Simcoe County, and King Township, York Region. We have put together a board, a board was put together in 2007 with representatives, a mayor and councillor from Bradford, a mayor and councillor from King Township. It was also, there's 2 farmer representatives from each municipality and 1 at-large farmer. So there's 5 farmers from the 2 municipalities that sit on that drainage board. So agriculture is absolutely recognized and looked after. The only thing that King Township does, or Bradford for that, well, Bradford handles all the money. They handle all that. But King Township, all we do is approve the budget for administration, and it's about $150,000. Now, there is a meeting next week, or you can go to hollandmarsh.org, that's the Drainage Board website, and that board was established under the Drainage Act. It has nothing to do with King Council. So, and the money that is claimed to be missing is not.
King money.
It's not King, it's not, and that money has been, I don't sit on the Drainage Board because there's 5 farmers that sit. I'm sitting where farmers aren't sitting. So, but that money is not missing from King Township. In fact, the money is not missing. It was not accounted for the way it should have been accounted for. It was a blank line item, but it's not missing.
And another indicator of, certainly again, and just let me try to put this in perspective for you, another indicator from my point of view on how ward issues are going to be filtered up, if you will, to the council and get debated and get accurately debated and information accurately debated. And that's the strength of the individual council you're bringing forward.
Abe is correct. The Holland Marsh Joint Services Board is an independent body, but it encumbers King Township as well as Bradford. There's 2 elected officials from King that sit on that board. 2 elected officials that sit on that board that I hold accountable, and I stand by what I say. You can look them up on the internet. It's Clean Board Levy and Mayor Belgrade.
Okay, this is not an issue that we'll end tonight. Thank you.
I would just like to say that if there is a question that requires a fulsome answer that can't be finished in 30 seconds, we would still like to hear the whole answer.
We still have time for questions that surface from tonight's presentation. You all are.
Nancy Hopkinson, Ward 2. And Dave's sitting there going, I know she is mad about this. Which one? Okay, here we go. It's Greenbelt. It's Highway 27, no, not 27, King Road and 400. That's designated Greenbelt. York Region, when the province allows changes to be made to the Greenbelt Act every few years, like every 5 or 7 or something. 10? Okay, 10. So, your region last time wanted to have that area taken out of the greenbelt so that we could have like Costco's and things. And I wondered how you felt about that.
So, first off, let me start by saying that King Township and this council that I know and am involved with support growing the green belt. Now, there is an area on the other side of Jane Street where it was, I guess, appealing to large companies similar to, let's say, caliber of a Magna type land. So that's why your region wanted to explore a land swap because it would have helped reduce our taxes because we need to build our industrial tax base in King Township. So it was really something that we needed to better understand and spend some information. We asked the province to consider, as did your board, but at this time there is no proposed change to that area of the greenbelt. And like I said, I fully support the growing of the greenbelt. And I thank you for the question.
Well, in particular, that brings to mind the 413, and that's one of the reasons I'm here. I was at a meeting about losing the Lasky Hall, which I was very upset about, and David tried to convince me that the 413 wasn't very close to Lasky, so it would be okay. And I was insulted and upset. I felt they might as well just pave over it. So I'm very opposed to opening the green belt at the area of King Road and Portland. It was the highway that the Ontario government, it was to come from Milton, I think, and it was going to come to about the King Lawn line and dead end there. So all the cars were going to drive right over us. I guess it was going to dead end there because you can't easily continue on in the King Lawn line now. And
Yeah, last I remember hearing that King Road at 400 corridor, there was supposed to be an equipment manufacturer coming there, but apparently it's moved to the Bradford 400 Highway 88 corridor that are designated industrial lands. So that I cannot see that King Road 400 area being other than greenbelt.
thank you, Nancy. That's a really great question. That's a good question. And as you know, I did respond in the questionnaire, and I did say that while I do believe in growing the green belt, I mean, that's the Holland Marsh is in the green belt protected countryside and a whole bunch of other different protections. I am in favor, and in fact, I was part of, I gave an endorsement for growing the green and protecting the blue. Having said that, I also believe that where there's an opportunity to grow the green belt and bring more special featured green belt land into the green belt, and if we have to compromise, not compromise, that's not even a good word, but providing a land swap, I am in favor of that, as long as it is serving the needs of King Township and protecting and like growing the green belt. But again, and it wouldn't be willy-nilly, like not a blanket thing, that would strictly be a case-by-case thing, and hopefully a very rare occurrence.
I am not in favor of adjusting the green belt. I'd like to see it grow. When it went through consultations and municipalities had an opportunity to request extensions or cut-outs of it, it was amazing to see how they requested for everything. If we start allowing that, it's just going to continue to grow. So, as much as possible, I will say no changes to the green belt.
I have to agree with my counterparts. In the 400 King Road area, I farm a 10-acre field there. So it is in my best interest that we do protect our green belt and expand it to preserve our agricultural farmland. Thank you.
I'm not going to add too much more to it, except that I was at a few public meetings with regard to the expansion of the green belt, and noticed that the criteria associated with the expansion of the green belt is based solely on water resources, And that really concerned me because we have a real opportunity now to protect some of our prime agricultural lands, and that wasn't really being considered in the expansion proposal.
I promise. Thank you for the question. One key ingredient that we haven't spoke of is the employment forecast, and we want to be conscientious of making sure that we're creating jobs in King. And that focus needs to be in our urban areas, and that's not in the Greenbelt area. The reason for that is that's where the infrastructure is, and that's where the infrastructure investment is. So it's very, very important. The region of York gave us intensification unit targets that we must get to. They also give us employment targets that we must get to. And this employment lands are all in our urban boundary areas. Thank you.
Eric Moore, I live on the 18th Side Road, and I believe the 18th Side Road is still a 30-year plan for York region to have a 4-lane highway running through the 18th Side Road. I don't know if people realize that, but that's what York region still has, and I would, first of all, urge you to sort of change the York region, because I love living on the Oak Ridges of Moraine, but my question is for you that, first of all, I have to preface that I am a developer in Toronto, but I would like to keep King green, and I believe in sustainability in green areas around cities. With the Oak Ridges Marine legislation and with the Greenbelt legislation, my question is, we talk about industrialization in tax base. I think there's too much emphasis on the tax base as more so a question of what are you specifically doing to making sure that the Oak Ridges Marine is protected. We're involved in quite a big fight around developer on that. The province, should be taking that responsibility instead of King.
And you're addressing that question too?
Thank you, Garrett. For those of you that don't know, Garrett lives on the 18th that connects right into the Happy Valley Forest. And I am proud to have been a part of councils that have worked with the Nature Conservancy of Canada to make sure land is dedicated and donated to the Nature Conservancy of Canada to have that go on forever. So Garrett, you know we will work tirelessly to protect the 18th, that whatever the region has in mind for that is not what we're looking for. So please leave here with that confidence this evening. I will share also, we had a land application similar to Garrett talked about one, but we had a land application that many of you may be familiar with in the greater Nobleton area called Pacifica Lands. And council absolutely, unequivocally, vigorously defended that application and stood up for what we all want King to be. And I think that that's a good example, Garrett, to walk away with of what the council will do, and I, as your representative, will continue to do. Thank you for the question.
I'll add one. Just a brief one. I think as a council, we need to take a responsible approach and realize that we can have a positive effect on the upper levels of government. Nancy will remember this one. When the Greenbelt review was in place, there was some verbiage that needed to be clarified between the Oak Ridges Marine Act and the Greenbelt Act, and that was about extending lake-based servicing into areas of the Greenbelt that don't already have it. Along with Mayor Pellegrini, we lobbied hard, and we kept that important verbiage that helps reduce urban sprawl in the Greenbelt Act. So, and that's with community participation as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
I'm Karen Cober. I am a resident of Ward 3, and I'm hearing a lot about protecting the green belt and agricultural lands, which I certainly support. My question is regarding invasive species. As a landowner, we work really hard to reduce the invasive species on our 10-acre plot. But then I travel through King Township, and certainly along the roadsides, I see huge swaths of dogs strangling vine, or I could go on and on. But I'm wondering if there is already in the sustainability plan, or if that's a focus for any of of the people on the panel tonight about reducing or at least managing invasive species in our township.
Address to the panel.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be everyone.
Pick this up and
I consider myself an environmentalist. I've been fighting a patch of garlic mustard back on my property for the last 8 years. Throughout Cold Creek, there are bigger patches now of dog strangling vine. I know that the township has signage up identifying these invasive species. I'd like to see, at least in areas like that, organized volunteer groups coming out and picking those in the spring. In terms of on the roadsides, it's not simply a matter of cutting it down. You've got to get it out by the roots. So, and spraying doesn't work out. So it needs a concerted effort to deal with it. I don't know specifically what the township is doing, but I would like to see efforts done working towards.
I'll just share quickly. It has become an operational issue for our bylaw department and our operations department, and it's become an issue throughout the urban areas of the York region. As you notice it growing and increasing on your property, it isn't growing and increasing in our ditches and roadways throughout our township and across the region. And so the Northern Six partnership that we partner with have all brought this to the table to work together to come up with a communication strategy so we can spread the word, because it spreads from one municipality to the other. This is just not a King Township issue. This is across the region of York and Southern Ontario, unfortunately. So thank you for the question. Thank you for working hard on your 10 acres to make a difference, because it does make a difference.
Okay, so you've also heard me tonight heard a lot of us talk up here tonight about the integrated community sustainability plan we have. We're also currently refreshing that. So, and I believe it's, and I think this is what it is, but you might have to go to king.ca and just type in speaking, like just like I'm speaking to you, or it could be speaking.king.ca, but at any rate, go to king.ca, and we're asking for comments from the public about, if you've got some ideas about how we should we be including more of that in our ICSP as part of our refreshing it. So if you've got some great ideas, because let's face it, we don't have all the answers. I think one of our people up here, one of the candidates, said that earlier. And so King Township has functioned incredibly well when we work with our community. So if you've got some ideas, tell your friends, tell them to go on speaking and submit some ideas about how we could be dealing with this.
Pause. I can keep this quick, but because you asked specifically about something that's going on within Ward 2, and King Fire is actually involved in this as well. York Region, as part of their forestry management, is planning a controlled burn at the 8th concession and the 15th side road. The whole purpose of it is to get rid of the invasive species and give the natural species the ability to regrow. This has been done through environmental assessments, and they know it's a benefit that will, an area that will benefit from the controlled burn. So there's a public meeting on October 23rd, and I would encourage you to learn a little bit more and attend.
Another question?
Great, thank you. Susan White-Swale, Nobleton resident, Ward 2. This question is to Ward 2 and Ward 3. So building new highways increases traffic. It's called induced demand. It's an engineering principle. The 413, which was the GTA West Highway, was cancelled by the previous government due to flaws in the environmental assessment process. If it were brought back somehow from the dead by the new government, which I suspect it will be, will you support Highway 413, the GTA West Highway? I know it's not something you can vote on, but in principle, you support the idea of the highway being so close to King Township.
And that's addressed to Ward 3 and Ward 2. Ward 3.
Bottom line is, King is overrun with traffic. We are a thoroughfare from the north to the city. So, and across from Caledon to our eastern neighbors. So we do need some kind of corridor that is going to get people from one side to the other. And with it being outside of King, it's not going to be in your backyard, your estate. So I would support the development of the 413 corridor.
And I'll take the opposite approach. Township, the Humber Valley Heritage Trail Association, and the 413, we're going right through that. It's an ACM area of natural and scientific development. We build more roads, they're just going to get congested. I think we need to try and find alternatives, try to encourage more public transit. Otherwise, we're going to have the 413, and another 10 years, we're going to be discussing the next bypass. So at this point, I am not at all in favor of the 413.
I'll go to Ward 2 next.
Well, I've already said I'm against the 413, and I will vigorously oppose it, but I'd like to make the point that if the 413 dead ends at the 400, which is the plan, of course we will have more traffic. And there was a study in the Toronto Star that talked about King Township has the highest taxes in the GTA, but it has the lowest car insurance in the GTA. So the more traffic we bring, effectively, even if we keep our taxes as they are, our costs, our blanket costs are going to go up if we have more cars because we will have more car accidents. Thank you.
So I'll correct the candidate in the statement that King Township has the highest tax rate in the GTA, because that's just not.
Oh, okay. Well, it was what it started.
Yeah, it's an important thing. No, first we started with the tax, the rate of taxation. So King is not, we've actually brought it down substantially this year to offset some of the tax fatigue that residents have been feeling. So we're pretty proud of that as a council. Now, in terms of the GTA West border, which I believe the original question was directed, so Susan, you're correct. This is something that the previous provincial government canceled for reasons, numerous reasons, environmental assessments, and just I think the route in general. When they canceled the EA, what we supported was the protection of those lands, so that we can stave off development in those areas, so that Vaughan doesn't go put a whole bunch of houses there. Because that corridor may be better used as we become smarter and we reduce our need for transportation. Maybe that's a light rail corridor or something that would better serve our community.
We're pushing the envelope on our time for the hall, so I'd like to take us to the conclusions. Thank you all for your great questions. I'm not going to call on the candidates to have one last time for their closing comments as to our agenda. Each will have a minute to a minute and a half to wrap it up from their point of view. And I'm going to start with Sherry, followed by David, and then wards 3, 6, and 4.
Okay, if you remember anything from what I said tonight, I hope it will be the last meeting today. I would suggest that a technology demonstration project tied to extreme weather event planning be started in Lasky. I envision it as a boardwalk, partially covering the ditches. Crisis ditch problems arise from debris, blockage, or ice. We had our house flooded last winter. I believe that in some of Lasky's most difficult areas, a reinforced ditch with a boardwalk on top could improve pedestrian safety, as well as lowering overall operating costs and reducing these flooding issues caused by decreased loss cycles. The project would probably be best done in concert with the Toronto Regional Conservation Authority. There is going to be money spent to deal with global warming flooding issues, and Lasky is an ideal candidate to investigate potential solutions for rural areas. The Humber River is such an easy access to outflow. Thank you.
Thank you. So for residents in Ward 2, I think that you can look back on the last 4 years and say that it's been a good and successful 4 years for our community. We've built Pascal Park. We've improved our Nobleton Line Sports Park. We're looking to add to our infrastructure and build community. I think my experience and knowing the role of the councillor and the importance of community involvement is essential to Nobleton in the next 4 years. As well as community relations, you need to be available,
My cell phone number is 647-529-8597. If you want to get a hold of me, you can stop me in the grocery store, you can call me on the phone. I'm out, I live in the community, I'm part of this with you, and all I want to do is make a better world.
As I've said, I am a lifelong resident of Ward 3. I'm involved within the community and know the issues that my residents have in Ward 3. Through being on the fire department is an added asset because it has taught me to be available. So I'm constantly available to my constituents for issues. On October 22nd, vote Jakob Schneider, Ward 3.
So thank you again for coming out tonight to meet us candidates and to learn about your options. I'm committed to King Township. I've given back to our community in numerous ways and have proved over the long haul that I care about our township and its people. I have extensive hands-on experience working with boards and groups of people and have demonstrated skills and abilities that will ensure that I'm a productive member of council. So on October 22nd, I ask you to vote for Geoff Simpson for Councillor Ward 3.
Thank you, Jeff. Ward 6, Roman, can you give us your conclusion?
As stated previously, drainage management in Ward 6 needs to be addressed and overhauled, creating a more efficient, cost-effective system. Road upkeep is a basic service that should be a high priority as a municipal service in all of King, all the time. Small business and selective economic development should be highlighted and incentivized as they help create distinct communities. Funds are prioritized and apportioned in a strategic undertaking. How tax dollars are spent must be under great scrutiny at all times. You are electing councillors, not staff. Too many times a councillor will defer a thorny issue to staff to deflect from making controversial decisions. As a lifelong resident of King, I'm an advocate of maintaining and fostering King's unique heritage and mix of rural, agricultural, and small communities. Various administrations have come and gone, yet this one paradigm remains constant. The citizens of King have willed it so, and they will always prevail.
Why vote for Avia Eek? Because Ward 6 is our community. Being elected to represent you is about working with our residents, addressing the priorities that affect us, understanding the role of governance, and understanding the role of council and staff. I'm a strong believer of teamwork, respect, and collaboration. A councillor is not an island unto themselves, they are public servants, and must be willing to ask for and receive input from the people they represent to implement services that provide a better quality of life, build our community, and help create effective policies that make King Township sustainable for the future. When concerns for our community are brought to my attention, I work with staff, my council colleagues, and whoever else I need to help them understand the importance of those priorities for our ward. On October 22nd, or at any of the upcoming advanced voting locations, I respectfully ask you to continue supporting our community by voting for Avia Eek, your voice on council. Thank you.
Before we start the clock, just a couple of public acknowledgements. So on behalf of all of us, I'd like to thank Tom for your work here tonight. And with a room full of community members, I'd like to acknowledge our outgoing councillor, Councillor Pax. 24 years. One of our questions tonight was, Linda, about our time commitment and our availability. And for 24 years, you have not wavered in your support of our township. And on behalf of all of us, thank you so much. I would like to reinforce my desire to have the honor and privilege to continue in my capacity as your Ward 4 councillor. It truly is a pleasure to represent such a great community on council. The spirit and passion of our township cannot be challenged. The election period highlights that in many ways. I am well aware of the opportunities, challenges, and decisions our township faces on the road ahead. I have firsthand valuable experience of work that is required to ensure our township's continued success. You know I will work collaboratively and work with everyone and will continue to bring that collaborative voice to council. Being a part of this community throughout my lifetime has made me very passionate about its future. I have proven my ability to accomplish many goals in my time on council. Working with all of you, we've achieved a great deal together. With your continued support, we will build on that success. I ask for your support on October 27 and ask you to vote for Bill Cober as your Ward 4 councillor. I promise to continue to be a committed and dedicated voice on your behalf. Thank you.
Well, we're coming to the end of this campaign, and it's been the longest job interview I've ever done. I just want you to remember that good community is based on collaborative dialogue, effective collaborative dialogue, and strong vision. I'm skilled and experienced, I'm compassionate, I'm passionate, I'm all these things, and I can take us into the future. Vote for me for Ward 4, Mary Asselstine.
Moderator. May I say something on behalf of the audience? First of all, thank you. Thank all the candidates. I think we have a pretty amazing roster of candidates. What do you think?
It would be my introductory statement and my conclusion. I'm impressed. I'm impressed with the candidates. I can now drop what is the main responsibility of the moderator, and that's to be neutral. Parallel with that is to make sure that the needs of the audience are met. So I hope I met those goals, and I hope that you're taking home information that will be valuable in casting your vote in 11 days. So thank you, candidates. Terrific job. Thank you all for making my job a lot easier. Now I'm going to call on Bruce to wrap it up from CCKT 22.
I'm going to give a message again, Tom. Thank you, Tom.